Hello guys and welcome back to another episode. Today we're going to talk about Guardian Druid PvE guide for patch 8.1. So if you're playing or you're interested in trying out Guardian Druid, I will teach you all the basics, all the core principles and also some maximizing things about Guardian Druids. So after you watch this guide, I will make 100% sure that you will be comfortable playing Guardian Druid. So I will learn you all the basics, so you're going to have a really good ground that you can yourself go up and be a pro gamer. I'm not going to learn you how to be a pro method raider. I'm just really going to learn you all the basics of Guardian Druid so you can go play it without no problems. So as you can see up there, we're going through the stats, the Azeroth traits, the talents and the gameplay. So I'm going to learn you which stats you need, which Azeroth traits, outer, inner, middle ring. I'm going to show you all the talents that you should use and for which scenarios. And I'm showing you the gameplay on, how you play, which spells you should use and what kind of rotation should you use. So let's just dive directly into it and go through the stats. So here we have the stats. Now you probably, if you're seeing this, you're probably thinking, what is this? What is this? You normally never show something like that. Well, I actually do in my tank guides. But you're probably thinking, what do you mean by this? Armor, agility and stamina. What I mean is basically the higher eye level you can get items on, the better. Because the more eye level you have, armor, agility and stamina, the more eye level you have, the more armor, agility and stamina are you getting. And as a tank, it's so important that you get more armor, agility and stamina, because that is kind of the core principles of what is going to make you survive and take more damage. So agility is of course increasing your damage, it's also increasing your dodge, so it's kind of important for you. It's giving you the overall, the stamina is giving you more health so you can survive better, and armor of course so you take reduced damage. So armor, agility, stamina is coming from higher eye level, so that's really important for you as a Guardian Druid. After that, it is mastery. Mastery is like, normally mastery is cool for classes, but mastery for Guardian Druid is like meta. You don't care about versatility, haste, critical strike, as long as you can get mastery on your piece. Of course, again, eye level is important because you want that armor, agility and stamina, but after you've got the right eye level, you need mastery. Mastery is so important. Mastery is increasing your maximum health. That's awesome. It also increases the heal you receive, so when someone heals you, they heal more on you when you get more mastery. Also it increases your attack power, like agility, so that's so overpowered. So it gives you more health, it gives you more attack power, it gives you more healing. What's not to like? If you can get a high eye level piece with a mastery on, you're going to be a good druid. After that, we're going to have a versatility. Versatility is good for tanks because it reduces the damage we're taking and it increases the damage we deal and the healing and absorption we are doing. So you can basically say it helps on all principles a tank is built up on. Reduce damage, more healing. Boom. After that, we're going through haste. So haste is kinda important also. It's not important as mastery versatility, but haste is also fine. It increases the dot rate of your what is it called, moonfire. It increases the dot rate of your trash. What could you say? Your healings over time is healing faster over time. Haste is also reducing the cooldown on mangle, trash, and frenzied regeneration. And frenzied regeneration are your self-healing spells, so that's kind of cool that it reduces the cooldown on that one also. So what's not to like on that? But again, and it also of course it increases your rage generation because your attack speed is increased. It also increases your attack speed. It also increases your decrease your global cooldown. So you can say Haste does a lot of things for the Guardian Druid, but it's not as overpowered as Mastery our versatility. Critical strike is the last one. Normally critical strike is pretty cool, except for example Blood Death Knight likes to have critical strike because it gives more parry, but critical strike for Guardian Druid is only giving critical strike, so you have a chance to do crits. That is not really any good thing for a tank because you don't really care about the crits, you just want to survive and deal damage and heal more. So critical strike is really the worst stat for Guardian Druids. So that's probably enough about stats. And I've been talking about stats for like 5 minutes. You're probably drowning in stat talk now. So let's dive directly to the next point. So that was stats. The next point we're going to talk about is Azeroth traits. And I'm going to go through the outer ring, the middle ring, and the inner ring, because inner ring is also quite important for tanks. So let's start with the outer ring. So the outer ring, normally you sometimes maybe see on tanks that they have some Azeroth traits that not really class specific is good, but Guardian Druid actually has quite good Azeroth traits from the class build. So for example, we have Layered Mane and Twisted Claws that both gives more agility, and as I said before, agility is so important as a Guardian Druid, so you of course want that. So Layered Mane is giving you agility when you use Iron Fear. Iron Fear increases your agility by 70 and has a 10% chance to give you 2 applications. That is also quite cool little note, you could say. And Trash direct damage has a 50% chance to grant you 51 agility for 12 seconds, and it stacks up to 5 times. The point of why they say direct damage is because when you use Trash it deals damage boom now. That is the only damage that it has chance to give this stat, not the over time damage from Trash. So just so you understand what I mean. Bonded Souls is quite cool. I mean, you could also get other Azeroth traits that deals damage and heals yourself, but Bonded Souls, I mean, it is quite cool. It heals you and the nearest ally. So for example, in a raid, it's going to heal you and the other off tank. That's quite nice that you're healing yourself and the off tank. And of course, else in a dungeon where you don't have an off tank, it's just going to heal you, and that's also nice. So Bonded Souls is one I like for Guardian Druids. I mean, it's a pretty cool talent. I'm sorry, trait, sorry. So that was the outer ring. Let's go now to the middle ring. So middle ring. So one of my favorites one for middle ring for a Guardian Druid is Azeroth Veins. So every time you're taking damage, you have a chance for getting this Azeroth Vein that heals you for 650 based on eye level, and it lasts 18 seconds or until you get full healed. So of course, if someone full heals you, it will drop off. But it's quite nice because you have Frenzied Regeneration that is going to heal you over time when you use it. But here you can get Azeroth Veins that is going to also heal you over time, and it's just a little boost because as a Guardian Druid, you're going to have a lot of HP, and that's quite cool to have Azeroth Veins that can somehow help you healing yourself. It can save you, I mean. The next one I like at the middle ring is Crystalline Carbase. So when you're receiving damage that is bigger than 10% of your maximum health, you gain armor, and every time someone attacks you, they will get physical damage back to them. Of course, those who attack you needs to hit you physically, so like melee attack. So you gain 62 armor and cause melee attackers to suffer physical damage back. So of course, if you're against a boss who casts spells against you, it doesn't help, but it still gives you the more armor. But I like it. It's quite nice. It's quite nice. The last one, that is number 3, is Ablative Shielding. When you fall below 40% health, you grant a lot of armor, so like a big armor boost for 10 seconds. And taking further physical damage reduce the armor granted. And this can happen every 30 seconds. So it's quite nice. I mean, it's like a savior, so you get 622 armor. I mean, what's that? That's probably something like maybe 8% more armor damage reduction, probably something like that. So it's still something that could help you not dying. And here we have the inner ring. So my favorite one for tanking, as always, is Impassive Visage. It is really cool, and it's going to heal you for quite a lot. And every time you take damage, you will be healing for 375. Of course, also based on eye level. The higher level you have, the more it will heal. And this can happen every 6 seconds. So I mean, it's quite nice. I like it. It's super cool. And it heals quite much. It heals more than the shield one you can get, the one where you get absorption every 30 seconds, and it heals more but than that on the paper, because the other one only gives like 1000, and this one here gives like 300 every 6 seconds. So you can see it's outperforming it. The next one is Gem Height. So when you, again like before, when you get damage that's 10% higher than your health, or is health 10%, well, it's actually great. It says you're gaining what's called avoidance and armor. So it's again like survivability again. It helps you surviving, and you get some survivabilities. I mean, avoidance and armor it's quite cool. It's a nice passive one. I bet I like the Impassive Visage, but again, it's quite cool. And then you have Bulwark of the Masses. I know that it's not really going to help you on bosses on single target, but in the Mythic Dungeon it can really be quite cool. So when you're surrounded by 4 more enemies, you gain a shield that absorbs 1000 damage, and this can happen every 20 seconds. I mean, in a dungeon, this one would be pretty cool because it can happen all the time, like always, because there's a lot of trash mobs. But again, in a raid where you just have the bosses, that is the hard goal, Bulwark of the Masses is not really probably going to help you that much. But again, now you know you have one for you can use for dungeons, and you have one for you can use for raiding, for example. So that was the stats and Azeroth traits for Guardian Druid, and we have used now 12 minutes. 12 minutes. The next step is going to be the talents, so I'll go through each talent and tell you why you should use it and which talent you should use for each scenarios. So let's switch over to the game screen. So here we are on the game screen. So let's go through each row, and I will explain which talent is good for which scenario and why I like it and which one I would use for when. So we start with the first row. So for the first row, Bristling Fury is like the default one and the main one I would probably use in most situations. So Bristling Fury is the one that is generating most rage, and as a Guardian Druid, rage is really important because rage is making sure that you can use Iron Fear all the time. You would like to have Iron Fear up all the time because Iron Fear is increasing your, what you can say, armor a lot. So you would really like to have Iron Fear up as much as possible, and with Bristling Fury it will 100% help you with that. Blood Frenzy is also quite nice, but it requires that you are against additional enemies. So this one here gives you a lot of rage from, even if it's multiple targets or single targets, but Blood Frenzy is only good if you actually have trash on a lot of trash mobs. So trash also generates 2 rage each time it deals damage. So of course you use trash one time and it just passively gives rage. But if it's only against one target, it's like it's not really worth it all. But if you're in a dungeon where you have like 4, 3, 5 enemies all the time, you can use trash on. It's nice. It will generate so much rage for you. So I'm probably saying in a what you can say, in dungeon I would probably in a raid I would probably take Bristling Fury, and in a dungeon, if you really wanted, you can also take Blood Frenzy. But I mean, if you're getting happy for Bristling Fury and you have it in your rotation, you should probably just stay with Bristling Fury and enjoy that. So for the next row, I am pretty much recommending Wild Charge always, because it gives you a charge, so it gives you much more viability, or what you can say, because it will give you a charge, so you can actually charge the boss, so you don't have to run towards the boss, you can just charge. There could maybe also be scenarios where you needed a Visuals Vortex, where you have to keep some trash mobs in a place for some reason, but normally I would always go with Wild Charge. Just, it's nice to have a charge. On the next row, I would defaultly go with Balance Affinity. Balance Affinity is giving all your spells additional 3 yards. So instead of, right now you can see my trash, if I take Affinity, my trash have now 8 yards, but if I go back to balance Affinity, my trash has now 11 yards. This yard increasement is helping my spell so much for being able to have a bigger surrounding when against trash mobs, bosses. I mean, I can now reach different bosses so much easier, or trash mobs easier, because even my single target spells like Mangle has now an 8 yard range. It's pretty cool. Now you don't have to be that guy who needs to be 100% in for range. It's great. If you need some more, you could say, speed running around, Feral Affinity can be nice, but I mean, it's only really if you need more movement speed, not for nothing else. I mean, Balance Affinity is quite nice because it gives you range always. This one here gives you speed, but if you're just going to stand still the whole fight, it will not make any sense. Restoration Affinity is giving you a little passively healing that increases 1.5 of your maximum health every 5 seconds. That healing is so slow and so low that it's not really, I would personally say it's not worth it. It's so a small healing, so I would rather have the extra range of my spells to be able to have a much smoother and easier gameplay than having a heal that you can probably not feel at all. It's like, yeah. So I will recommend going Balance Affinity, but if you really keep dying and you just need some kind of a little extra healing, you could try Restoration Affinity, but I would go with Balance Affinity like always. The next row you can have the choice either between Mighty Bash or Typhoon. Mighty Bash is nice, it just have one stun and you can stun an enemy every 15 seconds, but Typhoon is such an awesome spell. So if you are in a dungeon and you're against additional trash mobs and they are beginning to casting spell, you can just use Typhoon and all the mobs will be pushed back and getting interrupted while they are casting the spells. I mean, if you are in a raid dungeon where you have 5 monsters like the skeletons that is casting shields on themselves, you use Typhoon and boom, they stop all casting shields. So amazing. But again, do you want a massive interruption or do you want one single stun? That is up to you. The next row we have Soul of the Forest, that is the best one for single target. So Mangle is now generating 5 rage more and it deals more damage. It's great on single target. Galactic Guardian is probably the best one on trash mobs or cleave. So every time you have +2 mobs, so 2 and up, Galactic Guardian is the best one, because every time you deal damage and LE damage and all that damage, you have a chance that it will automatically cast a Moonfire on the target and your next Moonfire is dealing so much more damage. But again, Soul of the Forest is the best one on single target, and every time it's just one more than 1, so it's +2, Galactic Guardian will be the best one then. So if you want to be best on the trash mobs in a dungeon, go with Galactic Guardian. If you want to be the best one on a single target bosses, go with Soul of the Forest. Probably in a dungeon I would probably go with Galactic Guardian, and in a raid I will probably go with Soul of the Forest. Incarnation is really good if you want to have like, it's a really good burst cooldown, and it helps you and it helps everyone in those 30 seconds where you are in this incarnation. But after those 30 seconds it's like, that's everything, and now you have to wait 3 minutes before it's good again. But here you have like passively something that will help you all the time. So I'm not really playing with Incarnation, but Soul of the Forest I play with against, I normally play with in a raid, and Galactic Guardian I normally play with in a dungeon. You could also use Galactic Guardian in a raid if that's like trash mobs or cleave bosses, but again, that's up to you which one you would like to use. For the next row here, Guardians of Elune is like the Omega. I feel this talent here is like the one I want to use every time. It increased your duration of Iron Fewer, that is amazing, and it increased the healing of your Frenzied Regeneration. So every time you use Mangle, it either gives you 2 more seconds in Iron Fear or 20% more healing in Frenzied Regeneration. So normally Iron Fear is on for 7 seconds, but because of this one here it will now be 9 seconds. It's amazing, and it helps your rotation so much. Survival is the fittest is only cool if you really need more Baskin and Survival Instinct for some reason. And Earth Warden is quite cool against trash mobs or a lot of monsters, so like additional enemies, because when you deal trash now you get like a Earth Warden stack that reduce the next auto attack damage by 30, and it can stack up to 3 charges. It can give up to 3 charges, so if you use if you use trash on 3 targets, you get those 3 charges, and now the next free auto attack you're getting is 30% lower. But again, Guardian of Elune is like my favorite one, and I would take that one in no matter which situation. Then we have the last row. So Rend and Tear is quite cool, passively really good. What it does is, while you're in bear form, trash also increases damage you're dealing to the target and the damage they deal to you. So you deal 2% more damage to the target and they deal 2% less damage to you. And it can be stacked. Yeah, so it's for each application of trash. So that means it can come up to 6%. So 6% increase damage to the enemies from you and 6% reduce damage to you. This is quite cool on passive and on trash mobs or in dungeons where you have a lot of mobs. But single target wise, it's not good. Polarize is better than that, because Polarize is consuming 2 stacks of your trash. It deals so much amount of damage. I mean, your Mangle is dealing 4,000 damage, Maul is 6,000 damage. Polarize is free to use, and it just needs 2 stacks of trash, and it deals 7,000 damage, and reduce the damage you take, reduce all damage you take by 9%. So it also, so for example, if you're against a big group of monsters and you use Red of Tear, then all these mobs will now deal 6% lower damage to you. But if you use Polarize, all the mobs will now deal 9% lower damage to you. So you can see Polarize has the lowest damage reduction, but Rend and Tear is also giving you 6% more damage to with all your spells. So you can discuss, do you want to have an additional spell that gives you more reducing? It deals a great amount of damage, but Rend and Tear is passively from trash, giving you more reduction damage, and it also increases all your damage from all your spells to the targets by 6%. So you can kind of discuss that. I would probably say Polarize on the paper is the best one, but Rend and Tear is, you could say, by far the easiest to play with, and you don't have to think about losing your stacks from trash because of Polarize is taking them. But on paper, Polarize is probably the best one, and you should use it every time you can because of damage boost and the damage reduction. And yeah, so that's up to you which one you want to play with, but Polarize is probably the preferred one and the most used. Rend and Tear is just nice to play with and easy, but that's up to you which one you're going to play with. So that was pretty much the talents. So the next part would be that I go over to the dummies and show you some gameplay tips. So let's head over to the dummies and let's do some gameplay. Okay guys, here we are at the dummies and we're going to talk about the gameplay now. So let's kind of try to go over the rotation and the opener on how I would normally open up on a boss. So let's say here we have the boss and I'm going to open on him, and somehow I'm going to attack him with my group. It's kind of important that we know that we're going to attack him and we're going to hold the aggro, because everyone will go full in, deal damage, so you have to make sure that you're going to hold the aggro and not lose it. So normally when I'm going to open on a boss, I would run against him, of course, and then I would use Moonfire as my first spell. So Moonfire as your first spell is great. It's damage over time, it's ticking, and it's kind of, instead of starting with casting a growl that doesn't do anything really big, it's kind of cool to start with a Moonfire to kind of show that you have started, you have dealt damage, and it's a damage over time also. So it's kind of good to start with. So I would always say start with Moonfire, so like this, start with Moonfire. If the boss is really far away from where you just pulled, I would probably use a wild charge to kind of charge in on him. But if he's not far away, like if it's one of the bosses where you're like in the room together with him, so you're kind of staying this far away from him, it's just Moonfire and you go to him, and that's pretty much that. So what I would do first is Moonfire. The next thing I would use will be Trash. A lot of Guardian Druids is making the fail or the error with using Mangle as the first spell. The problem with doing Mangle as the first spell is that Mangle deals 20% additional damage against bleeding targets. So you want the target to bleed first. So using Trash is making him bleed. Now he's bleeding, and that means my Mangle is now dealing 20% more damage. So after you have attacked, when you open up with Moonfire, Trash, Mangle, you can put in, if you want a swipe, you can even put in a maul. So you only want to use maul if it's because you have too much rage. You don't want to overcap maul. It's like you only use it because you have too much rage and you need to get some of the rage away, so you don't overcap. But again, my opener would be something like Moonfire, Trash, Mangle, a little swipe maybe, and that would be my starting point, you can say. And then if you overcap your rage, it's important to use maul for dumping it. But you are also having the spells called Frenzied Regeneration and Iron Fur. So Iron Fur is costing 45 rage. So I know I just said that you're going to waste your rage and maul, but that's most for offensive spell, and if you don't need the Iron Fur. So Iron Fur is giving you a lot of armor, and if the boss or trash mobs are going for you, I would normally prefer to have up Iron Fur on myself all the time. Like now, it's on, getting some rage, getting some more rage, I use it again. So I would prefer personally to always have an Iron Fur active, because it's giving me such amount more rage. Oh sorry, not rage, armor. So if I'm in a boss fight where it's kind of hard, it's dealing a lot of damage, I would try to have an uptime up on Iron Fur all the time. Just have one stack on yourself, you can say, all the time. In situations where you're going to have a lot of damage, so Iron Fur has a special ability, because if you get enough of rage for, let's say, if you get enough of rage from the Iron Fur, you can actually use it 2 times. And what they do is they will overlap, they will go into each other. So normally our Iron Fur is giving you 75% more armor based on your agility. That is quite much. So in this case here, it will give me 3000. But if I get some more rage, here we go. If I use it now 2 times, it gives now the double effect. So for example, if I'm in a boss fight where I know, okay, it's going down now, I'm not taking really any damage right now, so I could skip my Iron Fur and wait a little bit. Then you can wait the amount, get up your 100 rage. Now he's going to deal a lot of damage, and I can use 2 times Iron Fur. Of course, you also have Survival Instinct that reduce all your damage you take by 50, and you have also 2 charges in that one. So of course you could say, I don't care about, I'm getting a lot of damage, I can just use my Iron Fur and then everything will be good. But Survival Instinct is of course also saving you, because it reduces all damage by 50 and you have 2 charges of them. But it's just important that, I would say primary, try to have an Iron Fur up all the time, just 1 stack. But you can also save them. There's also a little bad thing about Iron Fur. It's reducing the physical damage you're taking, because of it's only give you more armor. So if you're getting against a boss who only deals magic damage, or bleeding damage, because normally bleeding damage is not reduced by armor. Sometimes it can, mostly bleeding damage is not affected by armor. That's why Feral Druids are nice on, you can say, plate users, because they deal nice bleed damage on them and ignore the armor. But Aranfir is reducing the, you can say, the physical attacks from bosses, the melee attacks, the physical, all the, you know, the effect that affects armor. So against the magical boss or bleeding boss, Aranfir is kind of meh, and there's not really a reason for using it. Maybe, of course, some of the bosses still use auto attack, so of course it will still reduce the auto attack from the boss, and that's kind of cool, and that's fine. But you can be in a situation where the boss is only casting spells against you, and Aranfir will not be doing anything for you. So then you don't waste your rage on it. Then you should use your rage on Frenzied Regeneration. So Frenzied Regeneration is healing you for 24% of your maximum health over 3 seconds. And you also have 3 charges of them. So that means you can just get 25% healing over 3 seconds, and then you can get 25% again over 3 seconds. And boom, you just got half of your health back. It's quite cool. This one here replaces kinda, you can say, your Aranfir if you don't need to use rage on, you can say, armor or physical damage. But Frenzied Regeneration only costs 10 rage and Aranfir costs 45. So you can say there's a big amount of changes. But again, Aranfir only has 0.5 second cooldown, and Frenzied Regeneration have 32 second cooldown. Both of them are, well, Frenzied Regeneration of course also have 2 charges like Survival Instinct. So I would say primarily hold up Aranfir all the time, just have 1 stack all the time, and if you know you're getting a lot of physical damage soon, you could save up for getting 2 charges. But I think your healer will appreciate that you have 1 stack of Aranfir up all the time, because it's reducing so much damage on you on dungeons, raids, no matter where. Boom. You also have your Barskin, quite cool spell. It reduce all damage you take by 20%. So it's also cool. Again, you have a 20% reducing here, you have an armor reduction here, well, armor increasing, you have a 50% reducing here, you have a self-healing. So you can see you have quite cool survivability spells. Beside that, Guardian Druid is pretty much, it's easy. You just have to hold up Moonfire all the time, just make sure that your Moonfire is active all the time. Always have 3 active treasures, so you can see when I get another one, now it's up in 2 stacks, and another one, come on. And now everything is only about holding up my treasure on the target, holding up Moonfire, and beside that I'm just spamming Mangle every time I can. And while I don't have anything to do, you can just use Swipe. Swipe is like your filler when nothing else to do. But again, use your rage on keeping up 1 Aranfir all the time. Hold up treasures, hold up Moonfire, use Mangle whenever you can, swipe when you don't have anything to do. So let's go through me 1 by 1. Hold up trash all the time. You just need to be active on the boss or the trash mobs all the time. Use Moonfire, hold it up all the time. Just let it be on the target or the bosses or trash mobs all the time. Use Mangle whenever you can, it deals really much damage and it gives you so much rage. The more rage, the more Aranfir you can hold up on yourself. Swipe is a spell that is great for trash mobs and also your single target if you don't have anything else to do. If you don't have any Aranfir to pop up, if you don't have any more you need to waste some rage on. Swipe is great for just like, doesn't cost anything, it's just free damage, so great spell. Maul is also great if, for example, you're against a mage boss that only casts spells and you don't really have to use Aranfir. Well, dump off some of your rage on your Maul instead then and get some more damage out. It deals crazy amount of damage. Remember, you also have your Wild Charge from your talent and your Bristling Fury if you're playing with that one. That give you more rage for the damage you're going to receive. Really great talent. It gives you so much rage. And you can have up a lot of Aranfirs if you want. Beside that, you also have an interruption spell. It's quite cool, so if the target is casting some kind of spell healing, you can interrupt him by using Skull Bash. And beside that, I think that's pretty much it. You also have some cell healing, but then you're going out of your bear form, and if you do that on a boss fight or trash mobs, you're going to be very fast dead. You don't want to do that. So yeah, a little point I just want to talk about. If you're playing with Pulverize, that is probably one of the most popular talents as a Guardian Druid. So let's kick that one out and change that one out. How you want to play it is here. You want to still go with a Moonfire, Trash, Mangle, Swipe for example, Trash. You first want to use Pulverize when you actually has 3 charges of Trash on it, because if I use Pulverize now, I will lose all the stacks of Trash and my damage over time will stop. So get up on 3 Trash, use Pulverize now, deals a lot of damage, and now you can keep up your Trash stacks again. But now for 20 seconds I'm taking 9% lower damage. So you could say in your rotation it's pretty much still the same, but every time now you get up on 3 stacked Trashes, you're going to use Pulverize. Before, you didn't spam. I mean, after you could say Trash is still a great spell to spam because it gives you 5 rage, so Trash is nice to spam. But sometimes you will probably after Trash use Swipe for global cooldown, but now you want to use Pulverize instead because it gives you the damage reduction, and it gives you it deals a lot of damage just when you use it. So every time you're playing with Pulverize, get up 3 charges first, then use it. And Rendered Tear you can of course also use, but that's just passively. So if you want to have like an easy life, you don't want to do any actively things, you could pretty much play with Rendered Tear. It will have, what is it, 3% lower damage reduction, but all your spells that then deal more damage. So you could say no, here, throw that spell out, throw it out, throw it out, and now you only have 5 damaging spells you have to think about, and holding up Iron Fear or using Frenzied Reiteration. Yeah, so I think that was pretty much the whole Guardian Druid rotation on how to play as a Guardian Druid. So that was the stats, Azeroth, talents and gameplay. You should now feel pretty okay with playing Guardian Druid. I mean, that depends on how much you think, well, depends on how much you learn from my guide. But I mean, now you know the stats, now you know the Azeroth traits, now you know the talents, now you know how to play it. It's not really that difficult to play, but again, it's like, now you know all the core principles. So I hope this guide was helping you and it was helpful for you. I mean, I like to make it. I really like to play Guardian Druid. Every time I play more on him, I want to be more on him, and especially because I have the skin I have, you know, I have that bear skin. It looks awesome. I mean, I love that skin. It looks so great. But again, yeah, it's nice. So I hope you guys enjoyed this guide, and leave down a comment if you liked it, and leave it, well, I mean, like the video if you like the video. It's probably something you have to say. And leave down a comment if you have any questions, anything you want to say about this guide. Leave a comment, let me know. And else I can just say thanks guys for watching, really appreciated making this guide, and yeah, that's pretty much it. So see you in the next video, and have a nice evening. Bye bye. Cheers.